Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, an offer he can't refuse. The man who rules the world gets a job offer he can't refuse in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, an offer he can't refuse at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Legendary voiceover actor Peter Cullen passed away today at 85 years old. And Peter Cullen passed away in his home in the presence of his family. And while they will mourn him, many of us who were kids who grew up with many of the characters that he played voiceover roles for will definitely miss him as well. And we're all mourning the death of Peter Cullen because he was the voice of Generation X, I would say, because many of us Gen Xers would be racing home after school to try to watch many of the cartoons that Peter Cullen did voiceover work for, and we would also be anticipating and counting down the hours of Saturday morning with a big bowl of cereal to go watch many more of the cartoons that Peter Cullen did voiceover work for on a Saturday morning. Now, Peter Cullen will always be remembered for his signature role as the voice of Optimus Prime. However, I would say that he was the voice of the 1980s when it came down to many of us young Gen Xers. Because if you look at the credits of Peter Cullen's career, it basically reads like every cartoon that we Gen Xers watched on weekdays and on the weekends of Saturday mornings. And when I go down the list, starting in 1979, it was Peter Cullen who was the voice of Mighty Man from Mighty Man and Yuck, and further went on to even star in cartoons like The Quickie Koala Show, The Smurfs, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, The Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo Hour, Meatballs and Spaghetti, Pac-Man, The Little Rascals, and was also in other cartoons that were a part of the decade, such as the Biscuits, Saturday Supercade as Mario from the Donkey Kong cartoon, and shows like The Dukes, Mr. T, Dungeon Dragons, and was also in the Dragon's Lair, I think, video game. Was also a part of Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats, Alvin and the Chipmunks. I mean, I could go down the list of many of the cartoons that he was doing voiceover work for in the 1980s, like Challenge of the GoBots and Superpowers, and Rambo: The Force of Freedom, and both versions of Ghostbusters. But the roles that he will definitely be remembered for in the 1980s, in addition to Optimus Prime, was also going out here and being the voice of Car, the adversary of the Kit Car in the iconic show Knight Rider, and he will also be remembered for opening up the introduction of Voltron, Defender of the Universe, which was one of the big cartoons of the decade. And for me, being a Filmation fan, I will also remember that Peter Cullen was the voice of bumbling, stumbling Eddie Spencer, which really showed his acting range because he went out here and played the confident leader of Optimus Prime, but then could play a bumbling, stumbling character like Eddie Spencer from Filmation's Ghostbusters, and he also did other voices in other great shows. Again, he was in both Ghostbusters shows, Filmation and The Real Ghostbusters, and also did the narration for Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs, and also did cartoons like Dino Riders, and then, as the decade went on, even went on to do some voiceovers for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And as we came out of the 80s, the voice of the 1980s continued to go and work, and as he continued to work, he did a lot of voices for Disney, such as voices in the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh as Eeyore, and was in shows like Gummy Bears, and was in Rude Dog and the Dweebs, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, and Tom and Jerry Kids, and many other cartoons that were all a part of the 1990s, and even came back in 2009 to do the voice of Car once again for the new Knight Rider reboot. And after he did that, he then returned once again to do the role of Optimus Prime once again in the Michael Bay Transformers movies, and that's where a new generation got to know the voice of Peter Cullen as the voice of Optimus Prime, and that's where we basically, another new generation, got to know how legendary his voice was. And as time went on, Peter Cullen continued to be a part of most kids' childhood, again, all the way up until recently, where he was still a part of the Invincible cartoon. And when it comes down to Peter Cullen, he was, again, I would say, definitely the voice of Generation X, and he spoke to many of us kids who were latchkey, and was a friend to all of us as he played the role of Optimus Prime. I mean, he made life very much easier for many of us kids who, while our parents were at work, we could come home to that television show and be with a friend like Optimus Prime. And that's why it hurt the hearts of many of us Gen Xers in 1986 when that character was killed in Transformers, the movie. We basically, again, felt all of that because Peter Cullen was a major part of our lives. And he was a major part of not only our lives on television, but he was also a part of our lives in the movies, because he was also the voice of the Predator, and he was out here even doing voices in movies like Gremlins and many other movies. He was even the voice of King Kong in the 1970s. That's how powerful the voice of Peter Cullen was, and it's just sad to hear that his voice was silenced just today, along with the voices of two other great 80s legends in Tim Curry, Dr. Frankenfurter, and a guy who again put on many great roles, and Dolly Parton, again, a great lady. I mean, they will both be missed, but the one that will be missed by me and many Gen Xers is the voice of Peter Cullen, because he was the voice of our decade. He was the guy who spoke to all of us when we would come home on weekdays after school and be counting down the hours to go out here and watch him in great shows like Transformers and Voltron. I mean, I remember, coming home from elementary school and junior high school, looking forward to those cartoons, definitely in junior high school when I was being bullied. I mean, these cartoons basically, again, made our generation, made our day, and made the days of many kids out here. And Peter Cullen did get honored for that with an honorary Emmy Award in 2023 as related to Children's and Family Emmy Awards. He got a Lifetime Achievement Award for all of his contributions to generations of kids. That was well deserved. And again, when it comes to Peter Cullen, definitely he's somebody we're all going to miss. We're all going to miss hearing his voice as related to the cartoons we grew up with. And it's just sad to hear about his passing, because when it comes to Peter Cullen, again, this man was a major part of my life and a major part of many of the shows I grew up watching. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, Esteem a New Woman. The devilish diva starts on the road to becoming a new creature in Christ in this all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem a New Woman at Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Runway of Doom. The goddess next door struts her stuff on the catwalk to take on a runway of rogues in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Runway of Doom at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.